Oh, dude, no.
Hate it.
Because...
It's shocking.
No!
Absolutely shocking.
You didn't like it?
Did not care for it whatsoever.
Oh, what?
Potentially.
Bro, that is, like,
Uh,
pivotal.
Okay, Sam.
Hello.
How are you?
Welcome back.
Thank you. I mean, I was introducing you, but that's fine.
Welcome back to Talking to Me.
Yeah. It's always a pleasure. Never a chore. I've been continuing to read some One Piece.
Oh, fantastic. And last time it was Usopp's Island, correct? We were hanging out with the liar himself.
Yep. We were talking about Usopp. We were talking about that whole getting him as part of the crew, the whole arc where there was an attack on the island. Yep, all that stuff. It was very
Captain
fun.
Kuro, all that stuff.
Captain Kuro, yeah.
Good stuff. And you have continued with it, so now we have the Going Merry is heading off almost fully staffed. We've got Luffy, Zoro, we've got Nami and Usopp, and they're heading out on their adventure.
Yeah.
So the next arc.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Also, you'd think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because what happens here?
Well, I've got some. I don't know. I'm really interested to discuss this because I didn't enjoy this one as much. If I'm going to lay my cards on the table, this is the first.
Okay.
This is the first arc where I felt like it's taken a bit of a dip for a number of reasons, which we'll get into. But this whole arc is the Baratie. Are we going with Baratie?
The Baratie arc, yes.
Oh, you're going with Baratie
arc.
Or Baratie. Blimey, how many different ways can we say this word? I'm going to go with Baratie.
Baratie.
It wasn't a challenge.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Baratie. I think Baratie sounds nice.
Yeah.
But I guess it must say it in the anime, right?
Yeah, but this was like early doors, so this is where I was like, I've seen this arc about 4 times now. I'm just trying to get through it.
Yeah.
So it was like this was on the computer next to me, and then I was like playing, I don't know, Kingdom Hearts or something on the main screen, and kind of just looking over whenever I heard Sanji start talking, because I'm like, my love.
So Sanji, okay, yeah. So the arc starts with Luffy and the gang firing a cannon into the ocean, or they're trying to hit an island, and lo and behold, in the hugeness and the vastness that is the ocean, they managed to hit 2 friends of Zolo's who are just hanging out, shipwrecked.
He's just there.
Just
Johnny and Yosaki.
Sure. They are the most pointless characters in this whole arc, but we get introduced to them. There's a big thing with this particular arc in that they introduce a hell of a lot of people, and some of which I don't really care for, and think are completely unnecessary, and that's one of my criticisms of this. So anyway, we get our 2 friends, and then they take them. They first of all they fight Luffy. Luffy wins, or Luffy's winning, I guess, and Zolo comes out and is like, "Hey, these are my boys.
Cut that out. These are my friends,
comrades, pirate hunters from the Pirate Hunters Union. Old chummy.
I'm glad that he's unionised.
It's good for them. They don't get a lot of representation. But anyway, they go off to the big ship, the Baratie. Nearly said it wrong there.
Yes, because it's nearby. It's a restaurant, and these 2 guys haven't eaten in a long time, and one of them's even gone so far as to be succumbing to scurvy, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. I think he is. Yeah.
Which is instantly healed by feeding.
That's why I don't remember it, because it's just instantly healed. And they get to the restaurant, and we get introduced to Sanji, who clearly has some special place in your heart.
Definitely.
We meet
the crap cook.
Crap cook. Yes, he says crap a lot, as does everyone on the.
He does say crap a lot.
Baratie. So we get there, and he's this smoking suave waiter who's actually a cook, and we get the whole scene play out really from there, because there's a guy that's been brought being held captive by Lieutenant Fullbody, who's this arrogant douchebag, and
Marine lieutenant guy.
Yeah. Yes. Is it lieutenant, not lieutenant? I don't know. I wrote lieutenant, but whatever.
Well, we're English, so we should say lieutenant, but the Americans, it's lieutenant, blah blah blah.
Wow, I didn't know your military rank knowledge was so on point.
It's the one bit of trivia I've got about the military, to be honest with you.
Okay, good.
Anything else?
It's a good job it
completely goes over my head. Yep.
So anyway, he's a bit of an arsehole, and
yes,
he does this weird joke with the wine that doesn't really land. Like he asks for the wine. Oh no, he drinks the wine and says, "Oh, that must be this." And Sanji's like, "No, it's not actually." And you have this inner monologue from
you scuffed it
from the lieutenant, who says something along the lines of, I arranged for that to be that specific bottle. So but it wasn't. But then we don't really know why. Like, did Sanji change the bottle? Did someone else,
I think Sanji changes it because the lieutenant asks for this particular wine so he can show off. But Sanji, being so focused on the food and the pairing, he changes it to a wine that's more that complements the meal better. And
sure, that's the joke. Okay,
it's just Sanji things. He just loves food.
He does seem to like food quite a lot. Anyway, the guy that's under his captive is Gin. Gin?
Gin.
Are we going with Gin or Gin?
Gin. I guess in Japanese it would be Gin.
Okay, Gin.
So, but we can say Gin. It works either way.
Cool. I'm going with Gin. So Gin is this lieutenant, I guess, of this Krieg guy.
There's so many on the Baratie. It's a lieutenant gathering.
It's only 4 lieutenants. So yeah, Krieg. Krieg is our big guy the big bad guy for this arc.
Yeah, he's our big bad for the arc. So Gin is like an underling of the mighty Don Krieg, who has sailed out into the Grand Line and has returned now after however long that he's been there. But after his adventures in the Grand Line, he comes back with his entire ship a shadow of what it used to be, wrecked beyond belief, sails are tattered, crew members lying injured and half dead on the decking, and Gin was kind of the forward guard of that ship, and he has been captured by the Marines. And
how?
I think he was sent to scout as like a trustworthy member of Krieg's crew, and then this.
Oh wait, they do refer back in a flashback saying that he led them away pretending to be Krieg. I think he was sort of went off, but I didn't know that was reference. They said he even did this, but it didn't specifically say that was what got him caught here. But reading between the lines. Yeah, it's kind of obvious that's how he got caught originally. Okay, so that's a nice little tidbit. What do you call them? Where it's foreshadowing, I guess, but backwards.
Yeah, a bit of foreshadowing to him being part of a greater backshadowing. Yeah. I like it. Let's coin that term.
Sure.
So he's the big bad who eventually turns up to the Baratie, and the idea is that Don Krieg says, "Okay, if we can get to the Baratie, then it will be a key step in me getting my fleet back, and we have the restaurant and these chefs who can provide the food to build my forces back up so I can have another crack at the Grand Line." Which all kind of comes into it later. But before then, what did you think of after Gin is kind of semi-freed and he's lying there hurt, injured, dying of starvation? What did you think of Sanji still giving him the paella?
Is it paella? Okay.
I think it is. It's like rice and shrimp.
Okay. Yeah. What he fed him. Great. Sanji's a good guy. He doesn't like people to go hungry. He's got to feed people because people need their foods. I didn't really feel anything strongly towards it. Should I?
No, I just think it's interesting how you know, he goes against the orders of Zeph to feed somebody, and again, like you said, it shows that he's a good guy. It's like he's not. Whereas when we first meet Luffy, he's punching sea monsters, and when we meet Zoro, he's like crucified and strung up.
Yeah.
Nami's stealing things. Usopp is lying about a pirate invasion. It's kind of like our first introduction to Sanji is, yeah, he's a little bit rough around the edges, but he does an objectively good thing first and foremost compared to everybody else.
He beats the crap out of the lieutenant.
Oh yeah,
Like beats him senseless.
but he's a marine. He's a cop.
For leaving some food.
Yeah, you don't leave food. Again, I think that comes into kind of almost a bit of a Japanese sensibility towards food. Like, you don't leave food in Japan.
Otherwise, you get
although
beaten
Sanji is very
senseless.
much half to death by the chef. Yes,
yeah.
it's happened to me many a time because I just don't eat the rice.
In fact,
Sanji's
it's more of a
coded to be
fetish
very
now. I just
Western.
deliberately leave the rice now so that
I pick fist fights with the chef now. I'm just like, oi.
this was rubbish.
I'm not going to eat that.
Yeah.
And he just comes out swinging.
I'm starving, but I still
But yeah.
am not going to eat that. I wouldn't even feed it to my dog.
And then he comes out like swinging the 1985 bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sanji's very Western coded because he's got the blonde hair and the kind of the tuxedo, which is very Western. But his attitude towards food is definitely more Japanese.
Okay.
So you can see that even though he's influenced by other cultures, especially France, I think Oda has come out. There's an interview he had where he said where all the different members of the crew would be from in real world Earth, and Sanji was French, and I think. I'll have to check that. I will check that. But I think he was French. Luffy was from Brazil. Zoro was obviously Japanese.
Obviously, because of the
It's good
katanas.
stuff. And you see that with... Of course, he's got the katana. He's Zoro.
Yeah. Did you know
Zoro.
that katanas are made from folding the metal 10 times to make it super strong?
That's brand new information to me. The man who moved to Japan. Yeah. I've never heard this fact before in my life.
I learned that from Dr. Stone this week. It's great. Good morning, world. Oh, sorry. Anyway, Krieg. Krieg is. Let's talk about Krieg. I can't stand this guy, and not just because he's a bad man.
He's an arse.
Well, he is an arse. But I just got sick of the sound of him very quickly, and this is my first big problem with this arc.
Okay.
Honestly, I think I would put good money on at least 60%, maybe more, of the writing throughout this arc is either just referencing how strong Krieg is, either by himself or by others. It just seems to constantly be, I'm the strongest. Have you heard how strong Krieg is? Yeah, he's so fierce. Oh my god, and it's so draining all the time. Like even especially when it gets to Luffy's fight with him. So many frames are just, hey, do you know who the king of the pirates is? Yeah, it's going to be me. Are you sure? Yeah, it's going to be me. Nah, it's going to be me. I'm stronger than you. Oh, are you sure about that? Because I'm pretty strong
the strongest. Here's all my weapons. I'm pretty strong. I'm going to beat you. Krieg suffers from Oda experimenting to be like, okay, so we need to have Luffy face off against somebody who is overwhelmingly powerful. But instead of setting... Because the Baratie arc is fairly short, if I remember. It goes by at quite a quick pace.
26 chapters.
Yeah, so you're introduced... And most of those 26 chapters are spent introducing Sanji and the Baratie rather than Krieg. Yeah. And so, he's kind of foreshadowed to be this big bad. And then when he turns up, you don't have enough time to have him actually establish himself, because I don't think he actually fights anybody else, does he? It's kind of like Luffy just dives headfirst in against it.
Pretty much.
And that's it. He'll fire pot shots at other people.
Yeah.
But we don't have the length of time for him to show him. We've talked about before, if you job a character, so somebody who's established as being strong, and then you job them, you immediately just wipe them out to show that this new character is very strong.
Yeah.
And Krieg doesn't get that. He just turns up, and we just have to go off of his own bluster and what he's doing to Luffy to see his strength. And it's not great
No.
because a lot of it is just I just strapped a bunch of weapons to my armor and I'm kind of a bad guy.
Yeah.
Whereas with Kuro and Buggy, like Buggy's already taken over the town when you get there, so you know that he's got the chops.
Yeah.
With Kuro, he's been masterminding this plan for years, so even though we don't see him being a menace, everybody, like the fact that
But he does. You
that
do
much
because
time
he
to
takes
it-
out. Who does he? I mean, he threatens to kill everyone, and then takes out. Doesn't he take out some of his own force or something? Someone revolts.
Yeah, he takes out the two big cat guys. Like he slashes them up, and then they come back stronger. So we do see him show off his strength, but with Krieg, it's just I'm here, I'm strong, I'm gonna punch Luffy with spikes and explosions until he starts bleeding, and then that's it for the rest of the fight.
Yeah, didn't care for him as a villain, and again with the. You're right. Like he's already been destroyed by this swordsman. Right, the introduction of this swordsman. What's he called?
Oh, Mihawk.
Mihawk
Turning up and just dude, no,
hate it
because
it's shocking.
No,
Absolutely shocking.
And the whole fight with Zoro, you didn't like it.
Did not care for it whatsoever.
Oh, what?
Look, I think this potentially,
bro, that is like pivotal for Zoro.
Yeah, no, I get that.
That's
I get
like
that.
his big moment. I swear I'll never lose again. Like,
pathetic.
Nah?
We
Pathetic?
we could.
Nah,
Dude,
bro.
we basically I will never lose again. It's basically Keiju again. We could have just I'm just not gonna lose. All right, prove it.
I just simply choose not to.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what. I think first of all, in its defense, I think it does suffer from the fact that I am reading this knowing the longevity of the series, and I can't help but realize that like he's not going to die here. I know he's not going to die here because I know he's part of the main crew that goes on. So my investment in the fight is a little bit wavered. I think knowing that this is the most feared swordsman and the best swordsman, at least in this ocean. I know there's the 4 different oceans. Is it? But I think he's the best swordsman in the world. He's one of the 7.
Blue.
One of the 7 something or other.
Yeah, he's one of the Shibukai, or the Warlords of the Sea. He's one of the 7 that are kind of sanctioned by the government to basically carry. They're what are they called? Privateers.
Okay.
From real world history. They can carry out some pirating activities and meet their own agendas and do their own business and stuff. But if the government asks them to go and deal with a threat, then they have to basically follow the government's orders and go and like wipe out people. So they're pirates, but they are also kind of like attack dogs for the Navy.
So it's a Suicide Squad.
Some sort of... What are we? Some sort of Suicide Squad? Is that the name of the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Like, they're dogs of the military.
Okay. Why? Yeah. Okay. Right. Fine. Whatever. Anyway, he's this big threat, and he just turns up to provide Zoro. Yeah, with Zoro with this motivation to be the greatest swordsman, which he already has. So his main. So the only thing he does here is show how far Zoro has to go. Before he can become, because this is his challenge, and to me that's like I get it, because you show how far he is from his goal, and I think that works narratively in a film where you have oh my god, he's miles off, and then you have the 60 minutes of training and endurance and stuff, and you get all hype for the final battle, and then he overcomes. It's the Rocky Balboa situation. He loses at the beginning and he wins at the end, or he loses at the beginning and he does better at the end.
He fights his way up and he trains his way.
Not over 1,000 chapters, which I know this is going to be drawn over, and I'm just like, how is any villain ever going to be? I guess he can still have challenges because we don't, but there's just that sense that. Right, you've shown me the best.
I think it also suffers from it's been tacked on, almost.
Oh, it's absolutely tacked on. It's hemmed in there. Like
we don't have.
There's no reason for him to be there.
We don't have somebody for Zoro to fight here.
Yeah.
So instead of having like a specific enemy for Zoro to fight, we'll just introduce the world's greatest swordsman, and we'll have this big emotional moment where he claims that he'll never lose again, and how he's going to support Luffy, and Luffy, do you still trust me to
introduce the greatest swordsman, literally his adversary in the third arc of this entire franchise. You're going to introduce the big bad for Zoro, and
you've got to admit though, like him fighting Zoro off with the knife and then choosing like the big choosing to use his real weapon to finish him. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
but I can absolutely see what you mean in terms of like, for me, it's that juxtaposition of, okay, this is an arc about meeting Sanji and getting him to join the crew, and here's Don Krieg. He's somebody who's been to the Grand Line. He's been to where Luffy's goal is. That's the focus of everything. And then what's Zoro doing over there? Who's this goth that's just like sailed in on a big boat? Like,
and they try and tie it together that he was the one that sliced up Don Krieg's ship, and that's great. But he doesn't finish Don Krieg off. Like, he's gone and destroyed Don Krieg's ship to this thing, and then Don Krieg's like, "Hey, you want to go round 2?" And he's like, "No." Like,
no, because I'll win.
Because I'll win. And then what's Luffy gonna do? Like, I'm just here because I happen to drift across you guys for some reason. And now I'm going to go again, so see ya. But it's so hemmed in there. There is no reason. It doesn't... Yeah, and I just think, you wanted something for Luffy to do, but let's play our ace card now and then do nothing with him for absolutely ages, because I'm presuming he doesn't come back for God knows how long. It just seems very forced in there, and I don't know.
Yeah, and it's just a way to get Zoro out of the picture so that it's like...
It doesn't get him out of the picture. He gets out of the picture because he goes after Nami because she's randomly decided to steal the bow.
I forgot about that bit.
That's what gets them all out of the picture anyway. So they didn't need this arc.
Runs off. And he goes with Usopp, right? So it's him, Usopp, and the two...
Yep. Everyone goes except for Luffy,
swords,
who promises to stay and fight so he can have this one-on-one with Krieg.
With Don Krieg, yeah.
Which seems bizarre.
Yeah.
That they just
abandoned. It's like, again, it's so early in One Piece, and like it's just like,
you can't use that excuse every time. Like, you've used it several times.
I know.
Over the first few arcs
to try and justify, but you can definitely see the inexperience showing. Like, this is not a very well written arc in terms of getting everybody to where they need to be, and Oda learns from that as the series goes on. But at this point he goes, okay, how do I get Zoro out the way? Okay, cool. The greatest swordsman literally ever cuts him in half, and then he goes away. How do I get Usopp out of here? He's looking after Zoro. How do I get the other two random swordsmen out of the way? They also go with Zoro, and they chase Nami because reasons. Trust me, guys. I'll explain them in the next arc. And so then we get this one-on-one showdown with Luffy and Don Krieg, whilst also getting Sanji kind of having a one-on-one with Gin. It's not...
No,
but it's...
I'll tell you what happens. He doesn't have a one-on-one... Well, he does, but it's a short-lived one-on-one because he's already had a one-on-one with this big guy with shields on his hands and flakes can turn into fire. The Pearl guy, yeah.
Yeah.
So the Pearl guy comes out and he's like, I'm going to take you all on.
I completely forgot he even existed.
Right? Why wouldn't you? Because he's completely irrelevant and he's just another person to fight these guys. And he almost burns down the boat but doesn't burn down the boat. He defeats Sanji to a point where he's pretty much going to die. So power level wise, Sanji's just been beat by this guy. How does even Fire Guy...
How does he go out again?
What?
How does he get beat? Does Luffy beat him for Sanji, or does Sanji like pull like a last second?
No, I'll tell you what happens. Gin takes him out.
Oh yeah, because Sanji fed him. Yeah.
Gin takes him out and says, and does it under the pretense that it's because he wants to finish. He owes Sanji. He owes it to Sanji to finish him himself. So he basically says, I'm going to be the one to kill Sanji. And then there's this whole showdown where he's got the chef. He's got Zaf. Is it Zaf? Zeph?
Yeah.
Zeph. Zeph is the chef.
Chef Zeph.
Yeah. Zeph the chef. Oh, God, I can't believe I've just got that.
Zeph the chef.
Zeph the chef is at gunpoint and... yeah, there's this whole showdown where Sanji ends up getting beaten by... There's too many names. This is the problem. By Gin.
Pearl Man?
No, he gets beaten by Pearl Man, but then Pearl Man gets defeated by Gin. Then he has a bit of...
And then Gin, like, smashes him with the baton thing, right? The big cannonball.
He beats Sanji up with those things, thing. Yeah. And yes, because then Sanji gets a second wind, because every character in this has 5 second winds.
5 health bars.
5 health bars, yeah. Which, again...
You've activated my second phase.
I get it as a concept. I get it. But I have severe whiplash.
Shonen, bro.
I have severe whiplash from the amount of characters that have second winds in this. Like, we have Pearl Man, who gets angry and stuff. So he's got base mode. He's got basic form. And then he goes on... Then he sets on fire. And then he pulls out, like... another, like, he's got like 3 more super moves on top of that he uses. Then he gets taken out. We've got the Creel, who's got like 50 different levels. He's got all these different weapons, and then he pulls out his ultimate weapon, which is this weird bomb spear thing.
The fluffy bomb spear.
Sure.
And then he also has the poison darts, which he like nails Luffy with, and then Luffy's like pulling the darts out of him. That's a raw panel though. When Luffy stands up and he's covered in and it's just like, da-dum, and he's there and he's bleeding, and it's like, oh, Luffy's actually struggling. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's good to see Luffy all cut up. What? You know, I've said that in the past. Like, when it comes to like how you defeat Luffy, you can't defeat him. You need sharp things. You need to be slicing.
You can't just hit him.
Yeah. Yeah,
you need to be slicing and injecting. And Krieg does both.
But Luffy, again, like, gets beat down so many times to a point where he can't stand, but then he still has the strength to do this Super Saiyan flip in the air where he drags him down by the... Like, in reality, Krieg only gets hit, like, twice. And Luffy, as elasticated as he is...
the bazooka to the chest... Yeah. And then how does Luffy take him down?
Well, he does another bazooka.
Does he throw the mast? Is that another bazooka?
Yeah.
It's 2 bazookas.
He seems to do it mid-air.
Well, if it ain't broke.
I don't know. Like, he's supposed to be at a disadvantage because they're over water and it's all broken parts of the ship. Yet, he seems to be able to do everything anyway, and to full effect. And...
Yeah.
He just hits really hard in this case. He does use a...
How shall you defeat him?
He uses this spinny thing. He tangles all of his...
Really hard.
He gets caught in a iron net, and he puts his arms and legs through the net, spins them together to make his twirly pattern, and uses that as like a catapult to flip Creed over. Look, one of my other criticisms is there's a lot of panels here that I found hard to interpret. There's a lot of...
Hard to follow, yeah. Early One Piece action can be kind of hit and miss, especially when Oda's doing stuff with Luffy's powers. Like, you've got to kind of read between the lines of what happens between panel 1 and panel 2. And he's not yet figured out the best way to show like the impact panel in the most perfect way. Because at this point it's like, okay, I'm going to do Gum, I don't know, rocket or something. And then it's like, okay, cool. So here's the impact panel. Here's him shouting Gum Rocket. Here's the impact panel. I have no idea what's happened in between. Like, what was the actual wind up for this attack in any capacity? Yeah. It's just, I shout the name and now I've hit him in some way. Yeah. Like, at least earlier, I guess, a benefit of the Usopp arc. Like, Gatling is very clear. He's throwing 1,000 punches. Bell is very clear. We see the wind back of the head and then the hit. Here, the main one we get is Bazooka. And that's easy enough to understand. It's just both arms getting thrown back and then blasting him.
Yeah.
It's, I understand the criticism.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know how I got onto that. There's a lot of health bars that from everyone involved. Sanji has 3 different second wins that seem to just keep him going.
Yep. He's just going to keep shouting French names and keep him kicking.
Even Zoro, like to a point, because he gets sliced up and
essentially split in half.
Yeah, and he just keeps going. And then he's alive anyway, because we never thought he was going to die, but hey ho. And the guy leaves him alive for some reason.
Grit and determination.
What? Yeah, through grit and determination, yeah.
Grit and determination.
And out of sheer respect, he gets left alive to someday fight him again. And it's a weak motivation. Like, you see it so much. It's like, you've earned my respect, so I won't finish you now. I could, because I'm that powerful. But I'm just going to leave you to get stronger and face me later on. It's like...
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Come back when you're stronger. Yeah. Why? Just kill him now.
Yeah. Like, literally.
What do you have to gain from this, Mihawk?
Yeah.
Like,
it's honor.
Come on, bro. Honor amongst swordsmen.
Yeah.
I suppose. It's not great, though, is it?
No, not really.
Yeah. So, to kind of bring everything towards the climax of the arc, because obviously we've talked a lot about the fighting and everything else, let's talk about Sanji.
Okay, yeah, you want to talk about Sanji.
What do you think?
Yeah, all right.
Well, I want you to talk about Sanji. What do you think of him as a character? And obviously he's coming on board as the cook for the Straw Hats. Very convenient that Luffy says he wants a cook and they find the restaurant. But what did you think of his backstory with Zeph, his motivations for being a cook, and then his eventual leaving of the Baratie to join Luffy? Because I think that's the core of this arc, not the fights, not the Mihawk, not the Nami betrayal.
Yeah.
It is, absolutely.
I think Sanji, they wrote him into a bit of a hole and had a bad... I don't think it was really a great way for him to leave the Baratie. I think his whole motivation is that he wants the respect of Zeph, and I don't think it does a good enough job of showing that he's earned that. Like, he clearly has, and that's the whole point. Like, by letting him go, by sending him on his way, he's showing his respect. But I didn't really feel that moment between them. He shouts something at the end as he goes off, and that's when...
That, like, thank you, Chef Zeph, when he, like, does the big bow.
Yeah. Yeah, and
like,
that's triggered by...
And everyone's ignoring him.
That's triggered by Zeph shouting something from up on top. He shouts something back at him. I can't remember what he says. I didn't feel it, in all honesty. I loved the backstory stuff. I thought that was great. The island, being trapped on the island, not being able to fish, giving him the food, eating his own leg. Great.
Yeah.
That was really good. I just think they'd sort of written their way into a hole. Like, he wants this respect, yeah. And then, like, all of the pirates to sort of say, we don't like your food. Clear, like,
your soup is crap.
Your soup is crap. And then saying it loudly so he overhears that that's not what they meant. It just seems a bit clunky. Because they're like, God, it was delicious. Give me more of that soup. It was hard to do that to him. And he's there outside listening to the whole conversation. Bit weak.
Yeah.
I think his motivation changes. Like, his deep down motivation apparently is to find the All Blue.
Yes, the All Blue, the ocean where all these fish
But we only
live.
learn about that through the flashback. His main motivation at this time is to get the respect of Zeph. And I don't think they do a good enough job of achieving that goal before he then goes off to... It just feels like the timings are a bit sort of skew if they're trying to do too much at once, and it's like, well, why is he going now? He hasn't got that.
The arc is packed already.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And then to try and throw extra motivations on top of Sanji makes it even murkier.
Yeah. I mean, he seems like a cool kind of guy. He's another dynamic to the cast, and I'm excited to see where he goes. I just don't know whether
there's enough of him yet.
Yeah, I just don't know whether there has been enough of him. I'm curious to see, like, what his... You say, like, he's a good guy. I think they're all good guys. That's why Luffy recruits them. He knows that there's goodness in all of them. So I don't think he can be just like a moral compass, because I think Luffy's already that, and you know, he is the purest of all characters in that he is just like
the most pure. He is pure ego. Yeah. There is nothing there. He's just
yeah, exactly. So I'm interested to see what dynamic he does bring to the rest of the group, but as far as his arc here is concerned, it's just a bit too crammed for me to really feel much at this stage. So yeah, unfortunately, not as impressed as I know you probably wanted me to be with him.
I mean, that's fair. I think in hindsight, looking back at the Baratie arc and looking at his introduction, I think for me, even on the rewatch, the moment that hit the most was his leaving the ship, not any of the like kind of build up to it. Is him just prostrating himself and saying thank you to his mentor. Because for me, any media that shows like a fatherly relationship and like the begrudging gruff dad is like seeing his son off, like that always kind of hits. And I think all your criticisms are completely valid. I think looking at this arc, it's always one that I kind of gloss over. The main things I remember are Sanji joins the crew and Luffy does a big bazooka and pulls a dart out of his arm. Like they're the main things that kind of stick with me for the Baratie arc.
Yeah.
Because there is, and to see your fresh perspective and to see how many things are happening at the same time, and like Mihawk's here and Zoro's out of commission and Nami's betraying everybody, and there's these two guys who we have no idea who they are, and
there's so many characters.
It's a lot going on. And only maybe two of them are relevant, like in the long run, which is Sanji and maybe the two swordsman guys.
Right.
But yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I can see why you maybe didn't vibe with this arc as much as I thought you would. I think I'm definitely rose-tinted glasses with this arc in terms of, because even when I was rewatching it again, like I said, I just kind of had it on in the background. I wasn't paying attention. It was just rolling. It's not like a.
Do they do? You know when they do? I don't know. And this is specifically a One Piece question because I'm sure they do it differently depending on the studios and the animators and stuff. But do they take it verbatim from? Is all the what's the word, dialogue taken verbatim from the manga?
Yes, and like the big scenes, like the big pivotal panels, are usually shot for shot.
I'm just wondering whether they do better with the trash talk and the sort of the over emphasis on I'm the big bad and I'm the best and you're the best.
Yeah, I think it definitely comes into play a bit more in the anime because you get the voice talent behind it and you get the gravitas of a voice and then the music's elevating it all. So yeah, there's a bit more. The trade-off is if I read it, I can get through this stuff faster, but if I want it to maybe
if you know what's coming,
hit more emotionally.
If you know what's coming. If you don't know what's coming, then you end up reading all of it anyway and you're like, okay, yeah, it's the same. He's made the same point. Yeah, he's the strongest. He's the best. He's the baddest. And because you don't know what's coming, you feel you have to read every speech bubble. But like, you can just speed through those bits a lot of the time, and it can be a bit.
Yeah, you can kind of skim. Yeah, definitely. That's really interesting. Where would you put this then? So, of the arcs you've read so far, would you say that this is the worst arc that you've read so far?
I would. Yeah, this is the third one, so I would put this. Yeah, I mean, the first one's got obvious, it's the opening one. You learn so much; it sets the world up. So, I don't think that's. It's like it's always tricky, isn't it? It's like when you talk about books in a series and things like that. The first one is usually the most basic, but it sets up everything. So how can you really put it at the bottom?
So in terms of arcs that you've seen so far, let's get a list up. So you have currently seen Romance Dawn, which is the setup of everything.
Yeah.
Introducing Luffy and introducing to Zoro and Nami. Then you've had the Orange Town arc, which was versus Buggy.
Yeah.
That's arc 2.
Yeah, okay.
And then you've had the Usopp arc. So that's arc 3, and you are now on the Baratie arc, which is arc 4.
Yeah.
So out of all of them, currently, Baratie is at the bottom.
Yeah.
Where would you put, and then you said Romance Dawn, is it just the introduction of everything?
Yeah, so let's put that third.
Okay. So then after that, you've got Usopp and versus Buggy.
Yeah, I would probably put Buggy top.
Yeah.
And then Usopp second. Yeah.
Okay.
At the minute, I think I really liked Buggy just because. I tell you what, we'll save that because next time we do this, I will have finished I will. I want to make sure that I've read up to chapter 100 because there's a tiny little. When I was looking at the breakdown, have you got the list there? Because there's the big one next.
The arcs.
Yeah, and then we end
Arlong Park.
And then we end like one saga, don't we, or one part of the saga, like the Blue
Yes. So you're currently in the East Blue saga.
Right. So we end
which
that
is
at
Romance
100.
Dawn, Orange Town, Syrup Village, Baratie, Arlong, Lowtown, and then it goes into Alabaster.
Yeah.
Which is like the next part.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Okay. Let's do the definitive rankings of the arcs after you finish Rogue Town, which is the end of the East Blue saga, and then we'll come back to it.
Brilliant.
But yeah, you're coming into now, and I think we mentioned this last time we talked about One Piece, which was this is the arc that kind of makes or breaks fans of One Piece. And
I'm a bit
I never
nervous. I'm a bit nervous.
Yeah, I never really understood why that would be until our conversation today, because again, hindsight being what it is, this arc isn't great, and it kind of, if One Piece had continued in the same way that this arc is structured, then I could see why loads of people would fall off of it and just kind of, it would become a generic shonen. But Arlong Park is where, if you like Arlong Park, you're probably going to like most of One Piece. If you don't like Arlong Park, then
so
we'll see where you're at.
Next episode.
So no pressure.
The next episode could be the last of this whole saga. It could be the last of the series.
Oh my god.
Who knows?
It just nopes out completely. Well, we'll have to see.
Yeah, tune in next time to find out whether I continue with One Piece. For now, I will continue. So we'll leave it there, Sam, and we'll catch up next time.
Nice one.
All right.
Well, I'll see you in the next one.
Peace out.
Goodbye.